Former President Donald Trump faces a grave danger. U.S. intelligence reveals credible threats against his life, originating from Iran. These threats are not empty boasts. They are concrete and alarming enough to trigger heightened security measures. The safety of a former president is now a matter of national security. The nature of these threats remains largely classified. However, sources indicate potential assassination attempts and other violent acts. This is not the first time Iran has resorted to such tactics. Their history points to a pattern of aggression and interference in U.S. affairs. The timing of these threats is particularly concerning. It coincides with the upcoming 2024 presidential election, casting a shadow over the democratic process. The possibility of foreign interference in U.S. elections is a chilling prospect. Iran's hostility towards the United States, and particularly Donald Trump, is rooted in a complex web of historical grievances. Tehran views the U.S. as its arch-nemesis, blaming it for economic woes and political isolation. Trump's hardline stance against Iran during his presidency further inflamed tensions. The withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal and the imposition of crippling sanctions were seen as acts of aggression by Tehran. Targeting Trump, even after he left office, could be an act of revenge. It sends a clear message. Iran will not tolerate what it perceives as hostile actions against its interests. Beyond retribution, Iran might be seeking to exploit the upcoming U.S. elections. By creating chaos and undermining confidence in the electoral process, they could aim to influence the outcome or weaken the U.S. from within. In response to these credible threats, U.S. intelligence and law enforcement agencies have sprung into action, their top priority ensuring the safety of former President Trump. Security measures around him have been significantly heightened. The Secret Service, now tasked with protecting a former president facing international threats, is leaving no stone unturned. Their presence around Trump is more visible, their protocols more stringent. The goal is to create an impenetrable security bubble around him, but security measures go beyond just physical protection. Intelligence agencies are working tirelessly to identify and neutralize any potential threats. This includes monitoring Iranian activities, tracking suspected operatives, and disrupting any planned attacks before they materialize. The revelation of these threats has sent shockwaves through Washington, igniting a political firestorm. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle have condemned the threats, but their responses are colored by partisan lines. Republicans, unsurprisingly, have seized on this issue to attack the Biden administration. They accuse the Democrats of being soft on Iran, arguing that their attempts to revive the nuclear deal have emboldened Tehran. The GOP views this as a failure of leadership on the international stage. Democrats, while equally concerned about the threats, urge caution and a measured response. They fear that reckless actions could escalate tensions and lead to unintended consequences. The Biden administration is now walking a tightrope, trying to balance national security concerns with diplomatic efforts. President Trump has weighed in, stating, "Big threats on my life by Iran. The entire U.S. military is watching and waiting. Moves were already made by Iran that didn't work out, but they will try again. Not a good situation for anyone. I am surrounded by more men, guns, and weapons than I have ever seen before. Thank you to Congress for unanimously approving far more money to Secret Service. 0 no votes. Strictly bipartisan. Nice to see Republicans and Democrats get together on something. An attack on a former president is a death wish for the attacker." The investigation into the Iranian threats against Donald Trump is far from over. Intelligence agencies are working relentlessly to piece together the puzzle, determine the extent of the plot, and apprehend those responsible. This is a complex investigation that spans continents, requiring cooperation between U.S. agencies and their international counterparts. They are following every lead, looking for connections to Iranian intelligence services, proxy groups, or lone wolf operatives. The investigation is not just about bringing the perpetrators to justice. It's also about understanding Iran's motives and tactics. They need to determine if this was an isolated threat or part of a broader campaign against the U.S. The answers will shape future U.S. policy towards Iran. The threats against Donald Trump serve as a stark reminder of the volatile world we live in. Even former presidents, once considered untouchable, are now potential targets. This has cast a long shadow over the US, highlighting the reach and audacity of its adversaries. Iran's willingness to target a former US president on American soil is a dangerous escalation. It underscores the challenge of deterring state-sponsored terrorism, especially from actors like Iran, who seem undeterred by sanctions and international pressure. The US now faces an unsettling reality. The threat to Donald Trump may be neutralized, but the broader threat from Iran and other hostile actors remains. This will require constant vigilance, robust intelligence gathering, and a willingness to act decisively to protect its interests and its citizens.